Welcome to the Amateur Football Podcast. I have someone who I've been following for coming up to a year now, actually, when I actually look back on my content. I saw you playing, at centre-back for LSU Masters. And I said to Lloyd, I'm like, who's your centre-back? Because, again, you were just mopping up everything. And I was like, yeah, that's like Toppz. And I'm like, okay. And then, again, I was kind of watching how you would command like the back four and literally how you won your challenges. I'm like, okay, this is a centre back that I've not seen. And, I'm kind of really, really intrigued. And then, of course, I kind of started following you on like Instagram, and here we are.
Yeah, well, brother. So as I said to you beforehand, off air, typically I'm not actually a centre half. I'm a centre midfielder by trade, or I like to call myself a centre midfielder by trade. But I'm versatile compared to back. And Roy actually brought me in as a centre half, and I told him like I'll come in and do a job for you, but I want to get back in the middle of the park. And he's like, yeah, but that didn't happen. You know what I mean? So, yeah, the Black History Cup final, man, that was a good game, and I had a lot of skin in that game because I think it was the week after my mum's the anniversary of my mum's passing. I think that would have been that was last year, maybe the 5th year. So I was kind of playing for mum. So you know how that was, you know what I mean? There was nothing's passing me that day, you know. A few of my boys played for West London Rams as well, so with the bragging rights at stake as well, because I've got my boys from Staines. And I had a little bit of a score to settle with one of their players as well, so I had a little bit of a point to prove. So there was a little bit of extra sauce on that game for me. So I'm glad that we got the win. You know what I mean? But big up the West London Rams anyway, because Boise and Dean Thomas I know very well, good friends of mine. But unlucky that time, boys. You know what I mean?
Let's kind of start from the beginning. How was your childhood like, and actually what moments have kind of made you into the man that you are today?
So my childhood was amazing. My mum and dad were great parents. Together the whole time, married. As was mentioned, my mum passed in 2017. That was a huge whack to the family because that's the glue in it. That's mum's everything, and she passed quite suddenly and took everyone by surprise. So we've kind of had to regroup and rally from that. But childhood-wise, obviously my parents. But I was kicking ball from the time I could walk. Literally, my mum said I was walking at about 7 to 8 months. And from when I can remember, I was kicking a football, you know what I mean? So through primary school, I had just constantly playing football in the playground. And I started to play, like my sister's like 4 years older than me, but I was playing with her year group before she left school. So I was always a good footballer. Then I had a trial for Hammersmith and Fulham, started playing district football at about 9. But that first year wasn't involved because the boys are still 11. But I was in the squad, but not playing. Then from about 10 to 11, that's when I first discovered like 11-a-side football and proper football. At 11, I then discovered my club side, which is the Brunswick Boys Club. That's legendary in West London. I mean, that club has been around for God knows. Like my older cousin used to play for Brunswick, but that's when I met my mentor, Danny Vellino. It's funny enough, I just come from there just now. But Danny was the person that taught me how to play football, and I was with Danny from the time I was 11 till probably gone 20, because I graduated and played for his men's team at about 16. We started playing for his men's team, but he's still there. He's still doing what he does in the community for the kids, and Brunswick is kind of an institution. So without Danny, I don't think that my career would have done what it done, because that's my mentor. He taught me how to play football because I was very raw, very quick, but I couldn't pass a football. Some might say I still can't, but yeah, he taught me everything I know. So big up Danny, man. He's still doing one of the only boys clubs, or youth clubs, should I say, that I know of in London, and it's a outstanding place for young people. So it all started there with Danny.
And what was your relationship like with your mum and dad?
Typical West Indian household, you know, very hardworking. They set very high standards for myself and my sister, but always very supportive. You know, very, very supportive. They encouraged me all the time. Obviously, I had dreams like most kids of being a pro, and they couldn't support me enough. My dad would get up and drop me to football in the mornings. He wouldn't hang about so much because he didn't really do the cold, did it? So he wasn't really on the touchline. But hell of support from the family. You know, fantastic upbringing. Yeah, can't fault it at all.
Once you start to play 11 aside, and you kind of spoke about your mentor, when that was the kind of crossover period where I have a chance of actually going professional in this game?
I was at Mill School of Excellence from the time I was like 11 till 14. We used to train at Sheen's School. Me, a couple of others from my club, Guy and Ross Adler. Clinton Morrison was there at the time with another mate of mine, Martin Jackson. So we was there. We ended up getting released at around 14. And then I was at Brentford for a time. Didn't get a YT there, but at the same time, Fulham were interested in me as well. But I made a schoolboy error of basically the coach, who I knew well through his affiliation with Brunswick. He kind of answered us because me and my pal Varuk were there at the time, and he asked, because we were training at Brentford and Fulham, and he said like, "Oh, so if Brentford offered you YT and Fulham to do, would you sign for?" The answer is Fulham, obviously, because I'm speaking to the Fulham coach. But at the time, Brentford were farther up the table. Silly, we both said Brentford, and that was the Fulham window closed, and then we didn't get YT at Brentford either. So continued on my youth team football journey from there. But yeah, I was always there or thereabouts. When we graduated to secondary school, I started playing for West London, which I did all through secondary school with some very good players. A few of them played in the Prem. Damien Francis, Joe, heights of his career, he should have done. He was at Chelsea. Who else did we have with us as well? Harvey from So Solid played with us. But that was all through school. And a lot of the boys from West London, Ricky Paul, who I still play with now and see. So we had a solid side, which pretty much stayed the same for the 5 years with a few changes here and there. But the staple of the side was pretty much the same all through secondary school.
So you mentioned that at 14 you got released from Millwall. I mean,
yeah.
Can you remember that feeling?
It was awful. I mean, I've experienced that. I've had the lows and the rejection several times, and each time the pain is just that numbness. You know, it's awful. But I thought at Millwall, I remember we was doing like a selection sort of process over a few weeks. And I remember one night we had a game against the other Centre of Excellence that was based in South East London. I think they still sort of affiliated that way anyway. But we played against the other Centre of Excellence, and I was on fire that game. Like literally, I was playing on Astro, and I could do no wrong. Like everything I did was coming off, and I felt like $1 million. And I remember the coach coming into me afterwards in the dressing room. I was getting my, remember they used their shirt and tie back in them days, innit? So I had to be dressed up and putting on my tie and whatnot to go. And he came in, and he was the coach at the other Centre of Excellence. I didn't really know him, but I got he's like, bro, it's glad you've got something about you. How much do you want it? And I was like, more than anything. He goes, well, you're going to be all right. You just keep doing what you're doing. So I'm thinking, yeah, I'm in with a shock here. I might get, you know what I mean? I might get taken on. We play another game the week after, still do all right. And that was it. They called out who they wanted, and I was just like, just standing there like, raw. So you gassed me up a week ago, and then a week later I was released. I was out the door. So I remember going home. There was probably a few tears and whatnot, but came home to love and family, and they picked me back up, and we went again. Had a similar situation at Brentford, which was basically Danny at the Brunswick sorted it out. 4 of us went down there, but I was I was getting good reports. And Carl Hutchins, Gus Hurdle, local lads, they was pros at Brentford at the time. and reporting back to Danny at Brunswick saying, yeah, they really like AD, And I'm thinking, yeah, I've got a shot here. Same thing. And I think I didn't get my YT at Brentford because I think they was making their selections in May. We turned up in January. Some of the boys had been there a couple of years, and that's what I was told. And I just, even then, I just thought that's nonsense. Like, the rule of football is if you're good enough, you play. So I was like, well, I'm better than at least half of the players that are here, but you're taking them out of what? Loyalty. That's madness. You know what I mean? So I remember, I think I was a couple of years below Marcus Bent at the time because we used to train at Feltham Arena. And I remember I was like looking up at Marcus and thinking, this guy's a player, because he was, you know what Marcus Bent, he was confident as hell back then as well. Do you know what I mean? And very, very good. I was thinking, yo, I want to emulate that dude. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, it didn't quite happen. You know, so that was the situation at Brentford. You know, but that feeling, that rejection, every time you get it, it hurts to say. Do you know what I mean? Because as a young man, you're putting everything into that. This is you eat, breathe, and sleep football. You know. And you're there or thereabout. I've got brethrens, all of my brethrens, a lot of my players that I played with at the time were at pro clubs. Do you know what I mean? Chelsea, Wimbledon, Arsenal, you know, Tottenham. I had mates that were, and I'm just like, yo, when's it going to be my time? You know what I mean? But didn't quite happen. I came very close several times. I think the closest I came was with Arsenal. This was when I was playing college football, and I had England trials that year as well. So I made the last 36 in the country at Lillyshaw and didn't make the squad again. So the 16 was measured up for a suit, and he was even saying, make sure when you get measured up for this suit and that you're not one of the lads. But the maddest thing is about that period is that I was partying at the time, man. I discovered Coliseum, you know what I mean? I'm 18, you know what I mean? So I'm out partying. I'm out doing my thing now. And despite my dad telling me, like, stay home, you got your trials, you're young, innit? It's youthful exuberance. You think that, yeah, you know, I'll be all right. But I went up to Lillyshaw, and I knew from the first training session, I was like, oh, fucked up. I'm so tired. I was gassed. Do you know what I mean? I just didn't have anything in the tank. And yeah, I messed it up for myself. You know what I mean? And this is what I keep saying. I mean, my son won't have half a chance because I'll be onto him. But when I'm speaking to young footballers, I tell them my truth, innit? Because I'm a nearly man, and you don't want to be a nearly man, because the regret that I carried for the last 20 years, it wasn't good for my mental health, honestly, because I used to beat myself up about it. You know, I only recently managed to let it go and accept that, okay, it just wasn't meant for me. But I had to take responsibility, ownership for it, because I was blaming my dad. I was like, oh, why didn't you make me stay home? And I was like, nah. Once you get to a certain age, you realise that the onus is on you. You understand? I knew that I was close, so I had to prepare properly. You know what I mean? So I've taken that as a mature man now, but as a young man in the non-league game, still hoping that my time might come to be pro, and it didn't. It was a hard pill to swallow, to breathe, I swear down. You know what I mean? It was very, very difficult, you know? But on top of that, the same year, I was scouted by Arsenal scouts. Now, my mum's boss at the time was very tight with the CEO at Arsenal at the time. And my mum asked him to see what he could do. They sent one scout down. This was that same season. Got a good review. So that the Arsenal scouting system at the time was they'd send 3 scouts. You get 3 good reports, and you get to go and have a trial. So I was playing for Surrey and Brunswick at the time. So I had 2 scouts come to see me, both at county level, and I smashed. Then the third time that I was in contact with, I had 2 cup finals in the week, one for Brunswick, and we had one for Surrey against Inner London at Craven Cottage. So he was supposed to come to the first one at the Brunswick final. Rainers Lane, who was he playing? Can't remember. But I was unbelievable. Like, seriously, one of the best games I played up until that point. I was so good. Next day, didn't hear from him. It's like, let me call this guy and shout at him. Adrian, how you doing? No, I'm so sorry. So I had a heart attack, bro. I was like, what? Really? So obviously I was like, but how's your luck? I was like, no, what? I'm really sorry, Adrian. I'm really sorry. I was like, no, of course, guys, you've had a heart attack. Don't worry. But I'm sending Liam Brady to your game at Craven College. I was like, okay, yo, all right. No, okay. So the big man's coming now, yeah? This is Liam Brady coming to watch, man. I think the pressure of knowing that killed me because I couldn't catch a trap a cold. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't pass the football 10 yards. I was dreadful. To breathe, big man, I mean dreadful. Like, do you know, I still got the picture with me holding the cup, yeah. And Danny, my manager, comes to watch me, and my shirt, because he had this thing. Danny, we had to be uniform. Shirts tucked in, your socks pulled up. And when he weren't there, you know, I was busting like a tissue look. You know the way there?
Yeah,
everything
that
out.
Ryan Giggs look, innit?
Yeah, one of them ones. And he said to me after the game, he said, "AD, you look how you played." And that, I couldn't say nothing. You look how you played. We won the game. Funny enough, Casper was playing for the London then. Ben, he played for the London that day. And he was a rival of mine, big rival of mine. Ben, I couldn't stand him back in the day. He used to play for Accra, and we used to just have wars with them because them man, which is them South London dodge. You know what it was like back in the day? They're trying to ban up everybody, brother. Yeah, we're not having it. You know what I mean? I'm not a man to play that. So me and Ben used to get into it all the time. But yeah, I remember that leaving the ground that day, and I knew that was that. You know what I mean? I never heard anything back from there. And the performance, I mean, Liam Brady was probably sitting like, who sent me down here to watch my man? You know, I've got best to do. So that was that. 16, when I started college, there was Pete Burke was his name. He was the reserve team coach at Molesey at the time. And literally within a month or so, he took me down to Molesey at 16 and straight into the reserves. And within another 2 or 3 weeks, I was playing for the first team. Just like, 17. Yeah, just turned 17, I think I got into the first team. So I was playing like Isserman football at 17. Like, and when I sort of look back on that now, like, that was massive. Do you know what I mean? Because non-league football back then weren't like non-league football now, bro. That was like big man football. You understand? Like, and I think I started as a right back, but fearless. Like, I was just there to kick ball. So, and playing with Brunswick and their men's team, like, I love a challenge. I love a fight. Do you know what I mean? So non-league football was nothing to me. But funny enough, I got like a little scrapbook, and I had the first program that I was on, and the first week I got paid for football. I've written it on the program and signed it. But that was more for the fact that it might be worth something someday. When I busted it, I could say, look, this was my first wage. It was £20. You know what I mean? But now I'm on 250 grand. No, it didn't quite happen. You know what I mean? The thought process was there to
Yeah.
But that was an experience. I mean, that was my introduction to non-league football, and I remained in it ever since. Basically, I think I retired at about 34, so nearly 20 years in non-league football. That was my career.
Have you ever fell out of love with like football? And if you have, how like did you rekindle that love again?
I think so. I'm also I'm a London firefighter as well. I have been for 20 years. I was first responder to Grenfell, but that year was probably definitely the worst year of my life because my mum was diagnosed with cancer at the end of 2016. She'd had it before in 2011, and fit and healthy, nothing wrong. And then she got sick around Christmas time. Just come back from a cruise, and we thought, well, maybe she picked up a bug or something. Wasn't right. Basically in and out of hospital for a couple of weeks, and eventually they found out what was wrong. It was just like, you know what I mean? So there was a massive scramble. I mean, I just led the charge. I was like, listen, my mum ain't dying, it's not happening. So I just did everything I could to try and save her, you know. CBD or nutritionist, whatever was available. I even got her into a chamber tank, decompression. We had access for work, so listen, there was no unturned. So basically, that year was focusing on mum. Grenfell happened, but I was also going through a separation, a divorce at the time as well, and that was in the early stages. So that year, mum passed in October, and just it devastated me, brother. I've got a video of that Christmas, and I'm taking my kids to my sisters, and I'm trying to be positive and try and put a brave face on it for them. But I let them drive the car. I think there was like 7. No, my daughter was probably about 11. Jay was probably 7. But we went into the big little car park, and I let them drive the car just to give them like a little bit of a. So, but I recorded it, and not long ago, a little while afterwards, I watched that video back, bro, and I didn't recognise the person that was on the screen. The lights were on, but I wasn't there, bro. I was just like, and that's what people were seeing. But I didn't think that I looked like that. But I was just ghost, bro. Like I was just fake, and I looked dead inside, and I literally was, because my mum, that's my world, that's my person, man. You know what I mean? Me and my dad are tight, but my mum, everyone would tell you that I was a mama's boy. That was my person, you know. So around that period, football was more of a chore than anything else. The boys, I think I was at, where was I? I wasn't at the time. I think I stopped playing for a bit. I was at Defiance with my good friend James Evans, big up ever. And I remember we had a cup final against One Bell, and One Bell, like they were our nemesis, like, and we played. I think it was at their ground, and I think that was one of my first games back, because I hadn't been playing all around that time when mum had passed and whatnot. And I think it was in maybe the April or May, Evo asked me to come and play. And I was like, yeah, cool. But that day I was playing for my mum, and again, you remember the performance that you spoke about, the Black History Cup final? It was the same thing. I was just on it, bruv. I was I think I was playing right back that day, but I was everywhere, you know, because I was playing for something bigger than that was for mum, you know what I mean? So so for that period, I think it's the only real time that I fell out of love with football, because football is what that's my sanctuary. When I'm on that football pitch, I've had so much crazy stuff going on in my life and whatnot. It's different times, stresses at home, and whatnot. But like the therapy, the being able to just get to football, be around the lads, and then you step on the park. It's just you're 11 and it's their 11, and you know, for 90 minutes I was always free. There was nothing troubling me out there. I grew up in Fulham, born and bred, and a lot of my brethren are from Bush and Acton, Grove and whatnot. But the White City estate, I have a lot of family on that estate, and a lot of my people from there have grown, and so that's family there. Like the Bush guys are pretty much family, but they rallied around me when mum passed, especially Blue. But the wickedest thing about Blue is that we was friends. I met Blue in college, and we instantly got on. But what we didn't realise, and we only found out when we linked back up at Shaber with Vets, that him and my dad are brethren. They worked together back in the day. They know each other well. So, you know, like, them ones got there, so it was kind of written. But anyways, when I joined Shaber, we had like DJ Campbell playing with us, Carl Johnson. I ain't gonna name everybody, but my good friend Ricky Paul, who I played at county level with, but they were brilliant. And my good friend Farouk, that came up with Brunswick, and that for me was healing for me. I look forward to my Sundays every Sunday, because I was going to be around the man then, you know, and we was playing good football, you know. And that's me. I want to play good football, man. Like, I struggled with some non-league managers and whatnot because they don't want to play football. And hitting channels and them kind of, that's not for me. But football, that time there, when I fell out of love with the game and was struggling with my mental health, I can touch on that a bit if you want. I had a deep depression when mum passed, and then couldn't sleep, struggling with insomnia. But I didn't realise that insomnia was a sign of depression, and the insomnia started first. I was obviously depressed, but the insomnia started May 2018 maybe, yeah. And I was like, this is weird, I can't seem to get to sleep. I remember I went to Marbs on a golfing trip with the boys from the fire service, and we'd been on it all day. Touched down in Marbs, went to golf, came back, went out, came back, I should be knackered. I could not sleep. Got up the next day, went out, rid it, come back again, can't sleep. This is mad. So come home, eventually it got too much. I was still at work because I was like, I can carry this, like I'm all right. And I had to be for my children and whatnot, but eventually I broke, had a nervous breakdown. I don't even like to say that word because it's crazy to think that I don't think that I was coping, but that's exactly what I had. I was literally a mess, you know? So I had some time off of work. Eventually I started playing again. And I think that is what was the catalyst for me to start to feel better, you know? So I did fall out in love with the game, but it was football that healed me from the pain of losing my mum and the healing that I needed to do. So listen, my boys at Shabu, you all know who you are, man, and you don't really understand how much you guys carried me in the darkest period of my life. Don't get me wrong, there are many people that helped, but the football team definitely helped, and my family and my friends. But I think that was the catalyst for me to really start feeling better was football, 100%.
You touched upon being the first responder at Grenfell.
Yeah.
Could I ask you your own personal experience and literally how that
Yeah,
experience
I would try. Just to share with you. Yeah, no, I will. Just to share with you though, I'm currently off work. I've been for the last year and a half, and I'm signed off with severe untreated PTSD. Now that's come about from all the trauma that I had in that same year. And I remember always talking about Grenfell and people asking me, I said, you know what, I can't even deal with that right now, you know, because I'm still grieving for mum, that I'm dealing with a divorce. I can't, because it would have, how bad I was, I would have been 10 times worse. But Grenfell is my community, and the Abbott Grove is a mecca for West Indians. My dad, he came over in the 60s. He resided in Grove. And when I sit down and talk about his struggles, fighting the police, the Teddy boys, the skinheads, no dogs, no blacks, no Irish, you know, struggling to find work. My dad was working from 15 in Barbados, helping my aunt carry cane, you know. He came over at 15 actually, immediately started working, no education, ended up sending for four of his siblings with his mum, you know. So that's the mark of the man that I worship, you know. And my dad is my everything, man. My dad's my hero. So when Grenfell happened, it was very personal to me because that's my manor, innit? I got family up the road, my boys, bridges, that friends grew up in Grove. Grove is like Grove, innit? So I remember getting the call. I was at the base at 2 at the time, and I wasn't aware of anything was going on. But our other machine, I was a 2 appliance machine. The ladder went out maybe an hour before to stand by at Hammersmith for some reason. That didn't even raise any eyebrows, because if Hammersmiths are out and we need another engine somewhere, a 2 pumper, you'll send them all the time. And then I think I was in my room and the bells went down at about just after or just before 1 o'clock. So I was driving, came down, picked up with my brethren Dan, who was in charge of the machine at the time, and we saw the tip sheet and we was just like, what the fuck is this? Like, what's going on? Like, So literally straight on the truck, and I don't think I've ever driven a fire engine as quickly as that night, you know. And I've got a bit of a reputation for being a decent driver, but that there was definitely the quickest I've ever driven a fire engine. But so as we're going up the Trinity Road, we can hear the traffic on the radio, I can't remember what they're called, the PSG survival calls, basically survival guidance calls. So guys, calls for people, how many we've got with people actually on the phone saying that they're trapped. And it's like, this is a madness. So we get to Shepherd's Bush roundabout by Westfield, and I literally fly around that. But Dan glances the tower, and he's just like, he can't speak. Literally, he's like, I'm like, what, Dan? He's like, Toppz, that. So eventually, the main road going up there, St Anne's Road, is closed. So I flip through the back because I know where I'm going. And as I pull up by the leisure centre, we all glance this towering inferno. And I would never forget what I said at the end, because I think Dan was filming it at the time. And I was just like, what the fuck do you want us to do with that? Like, literally. So from that point, I just sort of clicked into leader mode. The funny thing is, so we was riding 6 that night, and it's only 5 sets, BA sets on the back of the truck. So I think just watch me come on duty. I told Dan, the governor, who was running in charge of the team, oh, you can do that set because I'm driving. He's like, oh, piss off, I ain't doing it, you're wearing it, yeah? So basically, when we got there, I went to get my set. Dan, my OIC, went to me, Toppz, let me take the set. I was like, no chance. We was arguing, yeah? I'm just looking at this big towering inferno behind me, right? But me and my bridge and Dan were arguing about who's wearing BA, like, because we both were equally as desperate to get in there. Now, the job that he did on the night, he was impeccable. So Dan Morrison, I saw he was basically in the lobby. We didn't have a means of recording what houses needed to be searched, and there was writing on the wall in China graph, but my boy was bossing it. Because I was in the holding area at certain times doing various jobs, and I was just watching him, and I was so proud of him that night because it was pandemonium, but he had, with a few other officers, they had the team on lock, do you know what I mean? But honestly, bro, that night will live with me forever, because I think I didn't leave there till nearly 4 o'clock the following afternoon, and I still didn't want to leave. You know, it was it was a lot. I mean, the first person that I saw when I turned up was my brethren, Dave Badillo, who is basically the face of the firefighter, the Grenfell firefighters. His story, I mean, I was so mad at him when he told me what he'd done, because he tried to save her. Turned out to be his brethren's niece, I believe, Jessica. But he went up to the 14th or 15th floor on his own without BA to try and save this girl who the smoke became too much, and she left her flat, couldn't get down, and went up to a gentleman by the name of Bernard's flat on the 21st floor. And that's where they found like 8 or 10 people huddled on his bed. Like, he sheltered them, gave them his bed, sheltered them, but he went to save Jessica, and as the doors opened, it just flooded with thick Arctic, I can't remember the word I'm looking for, but really thick, toxin, black smoke. And the only way he got down was that he was familiar with the layout and managed to crawl, get to the door and bolt 14 staircases, 14 floors down. But this guy, when he got to the bottom, the first thing he done is when I got a BA set, put that on and went straight back up and got into the flat, but she wasn't there. And I remember working quite closely with Dave that night, running casualties out under. We had the police riot shields, and we had spotters because all the debris was flying, and it's like, all right, go now, we're just running people out. And each time I'm doing it, I'm praying, like, please don't let anything fall on my head, don't let anything fall on my head. But the whole time I was at Grenfell, I couldn't think of anything else but my mum, because I knew she was gravely ill. And even at that time there, and that's what, just basically, I could sort of blank everything out because I was just like, you've got to be here for mum. Yeah, you've got to be here for mum. You've got to be here for mum. But yeah, that night, bro, as you can see, I still find it very difficult to talk about. And I've still got, when I went to my psychiatrist to get my PTSD diagnosis, what he explained to me is that where you're so far down the line now, you can't go my body, my mind, my body won't let me go there because that trauma has been locked away. So there's so much detail that I can give, but when I start to talk about it, I physically teleport back to that stairwell, back to everything. I can tell you from the time that I got there to the time that I left, every task that I did, you know, everything I saw. You know, when you're seeing the bodies of lifeless kids coming out, one was handed to a good friend of mine. He took off with her. I think she survived actually, but I was just like, this is crazy. And these are my people as well. You understand? So it hits different for me because, like, it's my manner. You understand? These are my people. And post Grenfell, you mean like I've got my shirts? You see them on the wall. There, both of them. One's from the one of the fifth memorial, the black QPR one. The little green heart's got the 72 names in it, and I've never read that. I can't do it. And the England shirt on the right, I played it. I was invited to play at St George's Park for Grenfell select side against Grenfell Flag, and yeah, that was the opportunity for me to say enough. So I'm retiring now because I was feeling it anyway. That was going to be my last season, but when that came up, I mean, look, St George's Park, like I never dreamt that I'd ever get to play at that place, and I walked in there and I could see the names, the great names on the walls, the Beckhams, the Sterlings, you know what I mean, the Rio Ferdinands, you know, and I was just like, yo, and that place is unreal, blood. Do you know what I mean? It's like you're there and this is what it's like to be a pro. You know what I mean? The top pro. It's like a 5-star hotel with football pitches surrounding it. What more do you want? You know what I mean? What more do you want? You know, so I took that was my moment to bow out. Despite everybody like, nah, Toppz, you can't retire. Even I played in a charity match Sunday for my bridge, and I'd like to just give some time for my bridge and Darty Brown, top player. Do you remember when Newcastle played in the FA Cup at QPR? Do you remember that game?
No, I don't.
But anyway, it's a big deal. And DJ Campbell was still at Hayes and Yedding, and he hadn't gone pro yet. He went pro after that. But DJ got all the headlines. Like Darty was the shot for me that day. He played so well, but unfortunately, he was diagnosed recently with a very rare form of cancer. So me, Francis Duku, do you know Duke? You must know Dukes. You know Dukes, Big Dukes.
Dukes.
He played for LSU, but he's not really on the vet scene. But have you seen the R game? The Our game set up in non-league. It's basically like it's like a healthcare policy, insurance policy for non-league footballers. Well, listen, you need to do a little plug on Our game, and you need to talk to Francis as well. Definitely, you need to talk to Francis. But me, him, and another one of Darty's mates, we orchestrated charity match for Darty at the weekend. So we played at Maidenhead. We had a Maidenhead 11 because we played for Maidenhead against Darty's All Stars, and all the boys came out. It was a fantastic occasion. But yeah, so big up Darty. But yeah, so all the boys were like, Toppz, you don't look retired. You know, you can't retire. I was like, listen, no, I'm done. But the main reason for the retirement is not just the legs and the fatigue and can't walk down the stairs after a game of football. Like I touched on before, my little man's a basketball. There he is. Come, Jay. Come, say That's it. Hello. That's the hooper. But yeah. So basically, he's very, very good. Like, you know, I don't want to sort of like, you know, gas, but he is a sick basketball player. Like, so I was finding that I was not being there for him at the weekend because I'm still kicking ball. You know what I mean? And I was like, you know what? Nah, it's time because I've had my time in it. Yeah, I've done everything that I was going to do in the game. And I held a grudge against my dad because when I was balling, my dad's a cricketer, very good cricketer as well. He probably should have played county level, but he was still, so my setup was at home. Mum was running the home. Dad provided the bacon. Mum worked as well. But come Friday, yeah, thank God. And then my mum would be cussing, yeah, but you come back Saturday, cricket, gone. You know what I mean? Sunday, thank you. You know what I mean? So it was fun for me because my mum would be cussing and I'll just be laughing and she'd be like, but you got and listen, that's how it was. But for me, I held it because I didn't have anyone to speak to for me on the sideline. My dad would drop me and whatnot, but he didn't see, so I don't really know nothing about football, But I didn't have that influence like I'm there for my son or the other dads were there for them. So like that decision that I told you about at Fulham, I had no decision making that. But funnily enough, my dad told me to go to Fulham because one of the scouts at a game said that they wanted me. This was before this happened. I was like, nah, I'm not getting, because Fulham were like third division then. I think Brentford were probably second, but Brentford was the highest status club, so that's what I wanted to be. But yeah, I then decided that I can't make that mistake for my son. You understand? I need to be there for him because it's his time now and he needs me. So that was the main decision for me no longer playing. So like coming out for the charity game or whatnot, definitely. But it was just time. You know it when it's time. And I always said that. I'll tell you what else had it. We named him T2. I can't remember his first surname, but Matty. He joined LSU. He was at where was he beforehand?
Long Lane.
Army boy. Yes.
Yeah.
Long
Lane.
This Fred, Matty. Yeah, you're the one that retired me, you know, rude boy. So basically, I've still got some gas in it. Yeah, I'm not having anyone smoking me in a foot race. Yeah, your 10 yards might be quicker than mine. Yeah. And I told all the boys I'm at LSU as well, bruv, over 100 yards, I'm smoking you all in it, bruv. Anyway, bruv, we played Long Lane, innit, right? They had one player, right? And you know the team that we had, bruv, we had so many shotters in this team. Matty just took us apart, bruv, like literally. Bruv, wham! So I got close to him, he rolled me like it was nothing. I was like, nah, this guy's taking the mick. Bruv, he scored a hat trick. I think he was 3-1. Yeah. But I tell you what did it for me. There was a ball over the top. He had about a yard on me. And I was like, oh, there you go. This is Vets, bruv. He's big. He's coming through. I'm going to, brother, when I turned for the gas, it was just like, he was just like pulling away. And he's just pulling. And I was just like, you know what? It might be time. But the wickedest thing is, when I spoke to him after the game, he just stepped out the non-league game, innit? And when I stepped out the non-league game and came into the Vets, I was doing exactly the same because it was easy. He had a cigar on. But literally, I was so glad that when we signed him and when he came to play for us, because I was like, I don't have to change it. It was T2. It was Matty. T2, Terminator 2. Yeah, you're the one that sent me out to pasture, rude boy. I was like, nah, it's that time now. Let me start wrapping this thing up, bro, because I'm not going to be that old boy out there getting gassed out here, bro. No.
Oh,
not at all.
So what's been the best advice that a coach has ever told you within your footballing journey?
Ooh, that's a question, bro. I think the best advice, and it's got to go to my mentor, Danny, and it's about your conduct, yeah? Your integrity, yeah? Your attitude. And he taught me more life skills than anybody I know. And this guy, let me tell you something, right? The man them in West, yeah, you either got Danny or you didn't, because he was no holds barred. Like the man them, we'd be like college Toppz, how you let my man talk to you like that on the side? Because he'd be effing and blinded. And his favourite saying was, 80, I'll play with fucking 10. And he's done it, bro. Like, if you're not playing how you want, you're pulling you off. And he's playing with bro, like my bridge Russell. Yeah, Russell's the character. Big up Rusty. But Rusty was like always on the wrong end of Danny. But what he did, he taught a lot of young boys respect, manners and discipline, how to conduct ourselves. And he basically to just go out and apply yourself, you know, go out and apply yourself. But I can't think of anything that's really stuck with me from one person, because I've been with several coaches. I played for over 10 non-league clubs, I think. But Danny, his influence on me has basically helped shape the man and the footballer that you see in front of me, because I was with him for such a long time, you know. And like, I just went to see him now because the kit that we used on Sunday, I hadn't even washed yet, and I was like, oh, there's no laundriettes around here, but he's got like a little boot room at the club. So I gave him a call, and so I've gone and put the washing on there. He's gonna hang it out for me still. And yeah, he's just like, he's unbelievable. Like, he should be knighted by now, because he's been at the club for, so how old am I now, 44? He's been in there for well over 30 years. Same role, doing the same thing. Like, he coached my cousins, older cousins, coached my nephew, he had my son under his care, you know? So I won't say it's one statement, but the biggest influence on my footballing journey was Danny Vellino at Brunswick, 100%. 100%.
I want to kind of talk about something that happened within the vets community when you used to play for LSU. There was an incident that happened between LSU and Independent, and it's kind of something that probably I'd say rocked the community.
100%. 100%.
I would literally love to kind of get your opinion about the whole situation, and actually what did you take away from the whole saga.
Fortunately, I wasn't available to play that day, so I wasn't there. But when I heard about what happened, I thought it was a madness. Yeah, I honestly thought that this was like no holds bar brawl. Yeah, from what I heard. Eventually, day or two, I saw the video, and I was like, really? You know what I mean? Like, being involved in football for such a long time, yeah, I've seen some naughty incidents between teams, players and matches, whatever. However, now, with this one, I don't know how the land lies between the parties, because I know there might still be some bad blood. But what I will say on the issue is that could have been resolved. Yeah, because I even spoke to the manager at Independent and wanted to, this was like the same day or the day after, because I'm a bit of a mediator, good communicator, and I said to Willie, look, let me see if we can get us around the table, yeah, and sort this out, because what I didn't like was the fact that this was two black teams, yeah. Now, LSU and Shebu are the first all black sort of sides, or predominantly black sides that I played for. And and Shebu, we played in a couple, and I know some of their boys. I know that the ties between the man them of LSU and Independent, they're literally the same club with a rivalry, the same people, with just divided by colour of your kit, because South London is South London. They're all South, man, isn't it? So for me, that should have been resolved a lot quicker and quieter than it was, because looking at it, there were wrong parties on both sides, yeah. But how one person kind of moved, like, bro, listen, we're all kind of from the road, isn't it? Like, we've all grown up on the ends, innit? And we know we don't really get the boy then involved in certain things and whatnot. And so I know for a fact that that could have been mediated because I attempted to, but for whatever reason, it wasn't, and it went to where it went. I was disappointed because I thought the league were out of order as well for what they did to us. Because that sanction, the crime. We had footage of other things that happened to other teams, and there was no such ban for the whole club. You banned the man or the individuals and whatnot. So I didn't like that. But one thing I will say is that Roydie and Ben did the most to try and resolve that issue in the most professional manner possible, you know? But I think that when you're dealing with issues like that in the community, and we're all the same community, but it was very disappointing for me that we couldn't sort that out between us, because you know what it's like as playing in a predominantly black side, you know, you kind of stereotyped, you know, and you've kind of got to be above that standard all the time, because as soon as you're not, they want to throw the book at you. And you've got two of the strongest black sides probably in London that went at it, and it should have been taken in the context. It should have been what it is. Do you know what I mean? It's a game of football at the end of it, and that's what disappointed me as well, because we're big people, blood. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're not 18, we're not 25, we're plus 40, blood. Like, everyone's got kids, some of us grandkids as well. Hopefully over time the bad blood will dissolve and we can just get back to enjoying football, because I played in the game, the first game, and I knew there was a lot of hype about that and whatnot, but it's another game of football to me, you know? So, and then the second game, I think it was in the Black History Cup, and we rolled them again. And I think this one, we had a few of our players missing and whatnot, and we gave away, or it was a few goals down and whatnot. I don't know if that added to a bit of the spice, I don't know. But look, I was just disappointed with the situation, you know what I mean? But I didn't think that it had to, when I saw the incident and whatnot, like they said that, what's his name? Can't remember, the young buck booted someone in that. He didn't. Like the kick was more embarrassing than anything else when I saw it, because it was like kind of like one where you're in the melee, you kind of, oh, I'm gonna, but it was nothing, you know. But no disrespect to the guy that the independent player that received his injuries and whatnot, because that's unacceptable. No one should come out of their yard on a Saturday or Sunday and go home battered and bruised because they've got into a scrap. But there was situations that led up to that. So nobody's in it all, but this is football, isn't it? It happens, you know. But I was just disappointed with how it transpired, because I think we could have dealt with that between ourselves. You know what I mean? So it's a sticky one, but those are my thoughts on it. And like, again, I wasn't there. You know what I mean? I wasn't there, but I did try to mediate between both parties, and I must say that independent, they didn't really want to do that. So they had kind of the bone between their teeth, because I reached out, can't remember his name, and we spoke, and he said, yeah, we'll sit down and talk. I said, yeah, okay, cool, let's parlay, you know, let's parlay, you know. And I even suggested it, look, just to as a good gesture of will, we're gonna put a change on the table for my man. Do you know what I mean? And it never materialised. We ended up getting suspended and all of that, and it's just disappointing, because really it's Mandem, isn't it? Two South London sides, we all know each other, you know what I mean? It should never come to that, but that's sport, isn't it? It's passionate, things get heated sometimes, you know. But I just hope that the bad blood will simmer. I don't think it's that deep, to be quite honest, you know what I mean? I don't, because I know the LSU dressing room. I know the principles that Lloydie and Casa impose and demand from their players, so I don't think it's going to be a massive deal, but time will tell.
What can we do to improve awareness of men's mental health, especially in black men?
I think we just need to talk about it, man. I think that, I mean, in a time when I was recovering, I did the PTSD challenge where you're supposed to do 25 press-ups for 25 days. I did that, but also what I did, I talked about it. I talked about PTSD, I talked about my mental health, I talked about what I was going through, and that was kind of therapy for me, but I didn't realize how well that was going to be received, because like I was getting messages from people left, right and center about that, and just messages of how brave I am, and I'm just like that, we're just talking, you know. Now I think that in our community, mental health has been taboo for a long time, you know, and especially like even my dad, when sometimes he'll turn around and say, yeah, but she's mad as ass. And I said, Dad, you can't say that, rude boy, but it's a culture, because we haven't had, look, black people, especially West Indians, yeah, or people that have been through the descendants of the slave, of course you're going to need counselling, you're going to need to talk, of course, because the trauma, you just think about the trauma that's been passed down from generation, bro, you know, and it's kind of a thing that we don't talk about enough, you know, because of people are afraid of how people might judge you and stuff. But I tell people this all the time: if you hurt your arm or your leg, you go and see a doctor, you go and see a physio, you go and get treatment on that, you know what I mean? Your head, it's like a computer, isn't it? Like, it controls everything. So if you've got something not firing in there, what you think that you're going to be able to, sometimes you can, if you're aware and you've been through it and you've done the work. Like now I know how to correct my mental health, because I meditate, I know how to breathe. Yeah, there's stuff that I have in place that I know how to make myself, and the things that I need to do, I need to train. I find that a lot of my posts that I posted on Instagram is mind, body and spirit. It's all connected. But one thing I do notice is that the first thing that's going to drop is my training. When I'm not feeling great, that's the first thing that goes out the window. Then my mind starts to play up, because my thoughts and then my spirit is the last thing to go, right? Or maybe the spirit and the mind, I'm not sure. But me training is therapy, because those are things that get released after I train. And that's why I like to train in the morning. Don't often get to do it, because single dad, 2 jobs, I'm a black taxi driver as well. So like I'm busy. Both of my kids live with me. So I'm a full-time dad on top of all that. And you're wondering why I retired from football. But men's mental health is something that we just need to talk about, and don't be ashamed of it, because suffering in silence is the most dangerous thing that you can do. And you see it all the time. Look at Robbie Williams, per se. You know, look how, and especially in our community, we've got so many black men taking their lives because they're not talking. The man them ask, "We saying, bro?" You're like, "Yeah, I'm good, man." You know, and it's the bravado, isn't it? It's the bravado, because being vulnerable is not a sign of weakness. It's just actually a sign of strength, Debris. You know, showing your emotions, saying that, no, I'm not feeling too good. You know, well, what's up, bro? Then you'll engage the conversation, and asking for help. Yeah, is not a sign of weakness. Again, it's a sign of strength. You know, and I think why I spiraled and went so low is because I'm used to leading. I'm a strong dude. I'm used to supporting people. After Grenfell, I basically kept all of my boys afloat. I remember one of my good brethren, after my mum passed, he came to my house, because we did a little, my brethren at work did a guard of honour for my mum, and I will never, ever be able to thank them enough for that, because that lady's funeral was like something you're never going to see before. You know, it was fitting to the person that she was. But we did a little drink up for the man there that stood as a guard of honour for my mum. And that's rare, because that's never really been done outside the fire. So that's really reserved for firefighters. And they asked me for what they can do. I said, well, I think my mum would like that. And I know she did. But I remember Ricky Nuttall, he came into our house, he said, Toppz, I don't know how you're still standing, bro. But I'm that guy that is there for everybody, innit? So even then I was making sure he was all right. The other firefighters, all of them, most of them there was at Grenfell. So for me, I had to sort of lead the way for them, but I was still dealing with my own madness at the time. I was still grieving, and the load just kept going on, and I'm trying to carry this load, and eventually I'm just going down. And what happened, my body said no. My body shut me down, because the signs were there, but I ignored them. Now there's a very, very inspirational and fictional book by a guy called Gabor Mate, Mate, and it's when the hidden side of the stress when the body says no. Yeah, I have sent that book to so many people, and I just buy it. Like some of my brethrens and whatnot, I just talk to them. I know what, and I send them that because my counsellor, when I went down to the firefighters charity in Devon, and that there was my God, I was so nervous to go down there because I was really bad. And I remember driving down there on my own 4 hours, and I didn't want to go. Didn't want to go because I knew that I had to go and face something that I didn't want to face, and that was myself. I had to go and be vulnerable. I had to go and talk about what was bothering me. But my counsellor down there at the time, he was amazing, and he was the one who put me onto that book. But what he also said to me was, he said, "But Adrian, it's like you're like Batman. You've got a utility belt, right? You've got all the tools on your belt. I'm just here to show you, remind you how to use them." And that really resonated with me. So after a few sessions and me working through it, I started to self-counsel. And I remember him just looking at me smiling, and he said to me, "You know what? You're going to do fantastic things out here." And I didn't know what he meant. But since then, the work that I've been able to do, and not out there advocating, but just with my peers, my family, my friends, I've been able to help them understand what they're going through, as a result of what I've been through, So hitting rock bottom changed me forever because I was the lowest I was ever been in that period. And literally, I won't lie, I was suicidal at times. I was. There was one occasion. I've only told a handful of people like this, but look, we're talking about mental health in it, and I'm someone that people look at to say, "I've always got my shit together. He's a fireman, he's a black taxi driver, ex-professional footballer, dad, da 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 da." No, I'm still a human being, man. And at the heart of when I couldn't sleep, I think I'd been up for 4 days at the time, literally, no sleep. I was still at work, and there was a massive fire in the Hamptons, which wasn't far from my house. At the time, I was living in Surrey, and the night before, I hadn't slept. At work, I went home during the day. I dropped 4 sleeping tablets. I was still wide awake, and I was just like, "Fuck." I should have phoned in sick, but I was like, "Oh, I'll be all right. It should be quiet. I'll go in. I've got to get my head down now. I'm exhausted." Didn't. We had a busy night, and then we picked up that job at about 2 o'clock, and I was there all night. And my mates coming over and telling me like, "Oh, Toppz was wrong," like, and I was squirreled away on the back of a truck just to say, "Just keep him over there." And that's when I knew that I had to stop this now. So that night I went home. I did manage to get some sleep, but the next day I was like delirious at home. Like nobody was home. Kids were at school. My ex was at work, and I just couldn't sleep. I was just so like I just didn't know what to do. So I wanted it to stop. I wanted it to stop. So I went downstairs to the kitchen, got a knife out, and looked at my wrist. And it was that point that I knew I was at my lowest, because I'd never contemplated anything like that before. Anything. And just the sheer fucking thought of it to breathe now, like it would then, like, it scares me. That honestly scares me. But as soon as that thought had entered and I was there and I was standing there for a minute, I just looked to myself and I thought, well, I just thought my babies, my kids, my babies. And I was like, no, put it down, went back upstairs. I think I phoned my sister, crying my eyes out. And my sister was at my yard within the next half an hour, 40 minutes. And I think from there, my recovery started. but it was a long, long process, man. And yeah, it took its toll, you know. But I remember my counsellor at Harkham House saying to me, well, of course you wanted to stop. You hadn't slept for 4 days. That's totally natural. I'd want it to stop, you know. And I think those words helped me to accept what I couldn't, because I still feel guilty about it. Now, I haven't, this year, I think I've told maybe 4 people about that, 5 at the most over, and that was well over 5 years ago, because honestly, I'm ashamed, because that is never in my remit. You know, that's never been a thought of mine, and I still feel ashamed that I could contemplate doing something like that. And I've got 2 amazing children. I've got a beautiful family. But what I want people to know is that it's like, and it's very cliche, but it's okay not to be okay. You don't have to be strong all the time. You know what I mean? You can't, and it's impossible. You can't be. So my advice to the man them out there is stop with the bravado, man. Like, if you need to talk, talk, because you'll be surprised at people's reactions. You understand? You'll be surprised, but I don't want anybody to suffer in silence, you know? Speak up, talk to somebody, you know? And if you know me, any of my bridges or anyone that knows me, even if you don't know me, you can fire Toppz on his fire Toppz and fire_Toppz on Instagram. You can holler at me and I will reach out for you. You understand? Because I know what it's, and my scenario just came up out of circumstances before 2016 and whatnot. Like, I would have never have thought that 5, 6 years down the line, I'd be without my mum. 72 people would have died on my watch, and I've gone through a divorce, and I'm now not living in my family. Like, that gets in the way. But trust me, if I can get on top of this and still get back to doing what I do, then you can as well. But you need to just be brave enough and allow yourself to be vulnerable. And that's the key word, because when people don't like to be vulnerable, but you can't get better unless you open up, and that means vulnerable. You know what I mean? You've got to speak your truth, and you'll be surprised at what happened, man. Real talk. So don't suffer in silence, man. Just speak. You know what I mean? And I think that's what's key, because there is a lot more attention and focus on men, especially men's mental health, because you know the girls have got it on smash. You will say, "Well, you always chatty patty with your girl, Ted," but that's their therapy. That's their therapy. They get it out. Yeah, sometimes people might bun you with the info, but fuck that. I'd rather someone bun me with something that I'm not or embarrassed a little bit than you onto all that stress, all that trauma, all whatever it is you're going through, and then one day you just have enough and you go and do something stupid, or not enough to do something stupid. You might just go and box someone up in the road, because my anger has been a madness, because I can boom, and I didn't know where it was coming from. And my kids were like, I was like, I'm usually very calm and collected, but there were certain times, and I didn't even know where this came from when I was going through it. But then I would be like, rah, what? And then I was just like, what the fuck did that? Because it's stress. And if you don't let the stress out where it does, it simmers until it can't take no more, and then it comes out in an outburst. And that misforms, and you're doing something, and then afterwards you're like, oh, what the fuck? Because you're not dealing with what you need to deal with. You get me? And especially the man them. This is why sometimes, like even with our youth, like the madness that they're on at the moment, a lot of it's trauma-based from what they've witnessed, from what circumstances they're living through. You know, so we're too quick to say, they're not bad. They're not bad. They just need guidance. They just need mentoring. You understand? They need someone to show them that they care, that you're not alone and you can do better. Because, like, I would say these youths in the road, you are entrepreneurs, bruv. You're in the road shotting food. Bro, you're running a business. You got to deal with your supply, your distribution, yeah, your networks. Bro, those skills are transferable, but they don't think that they can do it, or they only see an option that is music or ball. No, bro, no. But this is what I'm saying. We need structure. We need guidance. You know what I mean? And we need to be open with each other, because it takes a village to raise a child, big man. And that's an old African proverb. You understand? But if you look at the families now, our families ain't what they were 20 years ago. The aunties looking after nephews and grandma. Like, you don't really see each other anymore. You know what I mean? So we need to get back to some of the values that our parents had. And we need to trust each other a bit more as well, I think, because we don't communicate enough. You think that man's gonna, I'm not really telling my man that because they're, come on, man. How do you expect us to progress and we're not together? You know what I mean? So I think we just need to get back to our essence, how we were, and living in this matrix is hard. You know what I mean? It is difficult, but I digress a little bit, but getting back to the mental health thing, I just think that people just need to be vulnerable and talk. And I think the support, now I had a bit of a rough time getting support through the NHS and whatnot, and even everything I told you, you think I'll be at the top of the list to go and get, I wasn't. And I had to battle, and it still didn't come through. I had to go private in the end, you know? So it's all well and good saying, because what I don't like is, and they advocate our men's mental health, and when you reach out to these things, and it's the time you have to wait. I got 6 months waiting list. Are you joking? Like, what's like? How can 6 months? I'm at the edge now. I might not be able to wait 6 days, and you're telling me 6 months. So the infrastructure needs to be better, but we ain't relying on nobody for this thing, innit? We need to look after ourselves, and there's a lot of people out there, wise people, that will just sit down and talk and give man them the support. Because I remember Smudge was on your show not long ago, and instantly I took a liking to Smudge, but I knew something was going on with him just for how he presented. And I said to him early doors, I said, you know what, listen, bro, you don't have to tell, but when you're ready to talk, I'm here for you, you know. And I sent that same book I told you about, I sent that to Smudge, you know. And when I heard his story, I was heartbroken, because I was like, rude boy, why did you not tell me this? Because I could help with this. You know what I mean? But again, didn't want to be vulnerable. And it must have been so difficult for him to come on your show and on your podcast and talk to you about what he's been through. Because I didn't even know. But immediately I was, you understand? I got shout him actually, but I sent him that book straight away and I said, look, bro, because I didn't really, because I think one time he was in the dressing room and I think Smudge was annoyed about something, or he didn't play very well or something, and coming in some heated words in the change room or whatnot, but he said something to me with regards to, oh bro, you don't know what I've been through, what I'm about. I was like, bro, let me stop you there, bro. Don't do that. You know what I mean? Don't do that, because you don't know what people have gone through, you know, and just because I hadn't shared it with you at the time, you know. But I'm so happy to see Smudge back at football doing his thing. And again, football helped Smudge heal. You know what I mean? I can see how much it meant to him being and he can ball. He's such a good footballer. But this is the thing. Sport is a fantastic therapy. Team sports, because you can just be you know what I mean? You can be around the man them, you can crack to joke, and for a time everything's good. But that endorphin, that lift that you get from being involved in sport is second to none. You can't beat it, bro. Like, football was my first love. Like, and to give it up, and like now, I was like, are you doing the right thing? I was like, yeah, I am now. But listen, I can't thank football enough for what it's done for me, because it's shaped the person that I am. You know what I mean? It's been such a massive part, and it always will be. You know what I mean? I still go and watch a game like come down and out the independent LSU game. I'll be there. Hopefully, won't have to referee. Keep them apart. You know what I mean? Hopefully everyone behaves. But no, man, football is the beautiful game, man, and it brings so much joy to everybody. You know what I mean? And a lot of good comes from it. Definitely. My journey through football, when I look back at it now, Breeze, I'm blessed because I played at a high level, and even though for me I knew it should have been higher, I've played at a higher level than most. You know, I've from Sky in the FA Cup for Staines. Didn't dwell on that because everyone was like, he's talking about that again. But yeah, I'll send you the clip later. But I played in front of Alex Ferguson. He come to watch when we knocked out Stockport. The second game at Staines when we played his sons, we played Darren Ferguson's Posh. We got ripped 5-0. But listen, how many man can say that Ferguson come to watch you play? I mean, he didn't. Man, but you know, it is what it is. You know, it is what it is. But yeah, no. Honestly, bro, it's been a pleasure. I'm absolutely honoured for you to take the interest in me and give me an opportunity to share my truth. And as I said to anybody, you feel free to reach out if you just need some counsel, some guidance, or you just want to talk football. I can always talk football, but you keep doing a good work, my friend. It's much appreciated, and it's a platform that we need out here because people's stories need to be told. So big up yourself, Fabrice, and yeah, power to you, my friend.